Hello everyone. The photograph you can see shows Henry James in 1905 as an established author. The other picture is a self-portrait by a young American photographer, Alvin Langdon Coburn, also taken in 1905. 1905 is the year when James and his New York publisher, Scribner's, launched the project of a collection of his works, novels and short stories that they published in 24 volumes between 1907 and 1909, and on which James and Coburn collaborated. This chapter will explore some aspects of their collaborative work. The New York edition was conceived as an upmarket commodity. James selected 67 of his novels and tales, revised them, and wrote a series of prefaces, one for each of the 24 volumes. These were octavos. They were cloth-bound books. The bindings were made of buckram, with floral design in gilt on the spines and a gilt floral motif on the front covers too. Volume 1 has a portrait frontispiece of Henry James, and the other volumes feature the photographs Coburn was commissioned to take. So 24 photographs in all, which appeared as photogravure frontispieces to each volume. This makes the New York edition a case study for descriptive bibliography, that is to say, the physical description of books in connection with their reception, content, and interpretation. James was very conscious of its importance. For example, in May 1906, on receiving sample pages or proofs from Scribner's, he wrote, "It seems to me handsome and charming, and abates nothing of the dignity of aspect which was, for the presentment of my books, my dream and desire." Coburn's photogravures played an essential part in giving the edition a dignified aspect. Photogravure is a form of intaglio printing. The image is incised into a surface and the lower areas hold the ink. Photogravures are photographs etched into copper and printed traditionally with ink. So the specificity of photogravure is that it consists in the producing of an intaglio plate for printing with no sharp incised lines, but rather minute depressions made with a grid. The deep parts produce the darker and the high parts produce the light areas. Photogravures refer to both the process and the picture produced from the plate. So basically the three steps are: 1. A film positive is applied to a polished copper plate by various chemical processes. 2. Then the image is etched onto the plate by placing the plate in a succession of etching baths with acid. And 3. Finally, the gravure is printed on an etching press, like all other forms of intaglio printing. The picture you can see now is another self-portrait of Coburn, showing him operating his own personal press. He also used a grid during the printing process, giving photogravures their distinctive grainy appearance, with thicker layer of ink in the darker parts and thinner layer in the lighter parts. So let's see how these impressionist qualities of photogravures were used in the New York edition. For Henry James, having his novels illustrated was not an easy decision to make. In the preface to The Golden Bowl, he expresses his distrust of book illustration. The essence of any representational work is, of course, to bristle with immediate images. And I, for one, should have looked much askance at the proposal, on the part of my associates in the whole business, to graft or grow, at whatever point, a picture by another hand on my own picture. So why did James finally accept the proposal? How did he avoid competition between his literary images and Coburn's pictures. First reason, there are thresholds, frontispieces, whose main function is to create a horizon of expectation for readers and create a particular atmosphere. Isabel Archer, one of James's heroines in The Portrait of a Lady, was very much aware that frontispieces guided her choice of books. She said she chose books chiefly by the frontispiece. Like the prefaces, they orientate the reading and the reception of the text. Many of them show actual thresholds and passageways, doors, shop windows, bridges, arches, inviting the reader to enter the world of fiction. The use of the definite articles in many captions also makes the reader enter the fiction. The doctor's door, the Venetian palace, the cage, the English home, when obviously the captions are falsely referential. They are merely standing between fiction and reality. But this superposition of real places and fictional narratives also evokes James's idea that we should see through things and through images. In his preface to What Maisie Knew, he writes of the author, himself, addicted to seeing through, one thing through another, accordingly, and still other things through that. He takes, too greedily perhaps, on any errand, as many things as possible by the way. It is after this fashion that he incurs the stigma of labouring uncannily for a certain fullness of truth, truth diffused, distributed, and, as it were, atmospheric. Again, we see a correspondence with the atmospheric style of Coburn's photographs, which I called impressionist. An indication that the photographs do not exactly illustrate, or if they do so, in a very specific sense. Coburn even used filters to accentuate the blurry atmospheric or impressionist effect, as in The Halls of Julia. In London, James and Coburn walked the streets together until they found the door or the street that would create the best atmosphere for the stories set there. Coburn was sent to Paris and Rome with very specific instructions given by James. For the Spoils of Poynton, for instance, one of James's instructions was, take the beautiful subject obliquely onto you. We can note an alternation throughout the volumes between frontal and oblique shots, as in The Curiosity Shop, for example, or The New England Street. And possibly this introduces the Jamesian themes of manipulation, biased approach, roundabout ways. Even the caption, "Some of the spoils," at the bottom of the transparent tissue guard, seems disconnected from the picture, as it is floating between the frontispiece and the title page, undermining its own referentiality. Metaphorically, again, this choice is a reminder that these images illustrate the text in an oblique manner, indirectly, and therefore offering no competitive pictures. The photographs imitate the style of the novels rather than depict what is in the novels. This is what the critic Hillis Miller says about the New York edition. Image and text echo each other at a safe distance. Their resonance is guaranteed by their usual relation to a third thing that they bring to light in different ways. Each photograph illustrates, makes visible, not this or that detail in the text, but a general type or idea that the text magically evokes, as Mallarmé says. Each photograph would thereby be kept subsidiary to the text, posing no danger of overwhelming it. The photograph imitates the text at a double remove. It represents neither its signs nor its referent, but its significance, its impalpable signifié. In the New York edition, the choice of photogravure was based on very specific aesthetic goals. It reflects James's critical stance towards book illustration. Although the New York edition was a commercial failure, the frontispieces have remained famous precisely because they do not attempt to show the characters or the places in the texts. They are artworks in their own right. They are artistic responses or echoes to the texts, to use James's own word. And the New York edition offers a perfect example of how the materiality of the book shapes artistic and literary significance.